Hello, my art-loving friends! Today we're going to take a bit of a break from the massive art haul, although this product was in a previous art haul, and the only thing we ever did with it was swatch it right here, so we do still need to play with it, but I want to take this with me on my month-long trip, and we need to modify this. Currently, this palette looks like this. It has a separate tube of white, a brush, a plastic insert, which I was able to get out successfully the other day. Yes, here we go. Plastic insert, tin bottom, all of that. And what we are going to do in today's video is pull these out of this plastic insert, attach them directly to here, and add some extra pans for this Daniel Smith gouache. The rumor is that the Daniel Smith gouache dries into pans really nicely and it re-wets nicely and it works great for a dried palette. So we are going to make this part of this so I can take it with me and have a nice, easy to use dried gouache palette. This brush actually looks pretty decent. We will try it out. It still has sizing in it. And if I keep it with the plastic cover, I should be able to keep it in here. But we'll see. I may add a travel brush instead that already has a lid. And then I'll pop each of these out, which could be interesting. Oh no, they pull out super easily. This is really heavy duty plastic. So if you wanted to keep that in there, that would be just fine. But my plan is to take these out so that I can add a lot more things in here. And I'll show you what this looks like once they are all out and condensed together, because you'll see exactly how much room is available for other things. Maybe a lot, it may be none. No, it's a lot. All right, so this is the amount of room we have, and let's see if a travel brush will fit right here. Here's an example of some of my favorite travel brushes. These are the Fumui ones, and they come in little case like this, but you can pull them out. Okay, so they will not fit up like that. Oh, the little one will, but how little is the little one? Pretty darn little. I don't think that's the only brush I would want to have, so I would want to have them in there at least like that, which gives me all of this space here to put in the Daniel Smith pans. I thought these would actually take up less space and I would be able to put the tubes of Daniel Smith paint in here with velcro and maybe some other pans, but I'm not sure. I am just trying this right now and you guys will see how this goes along with me. So here's a good example. I thought these would take up less room, ignorant apparently, and I thought I would be able to keep the tubes in here like this with maybe some velcro and then have little pans where when I wanted to use some out of the tube, I could squeeze it into the pan, and if it dried in there, great. If I used it all, great. I would have the fresh from the tube paint, whatever, but I do not have as much room as I thought, which is no surprise, I guess. These are actually really large pans, but it kind of blows my plans a little bit because I can't really fit 5 pans in here, although I don't need white. Like white, we should maybe always use fresh from the tube, although it might be kind of fun to have a pan of white. So if these are the only ones in tube and I only need 1 white, should we use up the Caran white first? Probably, I don't know. I haven't tried it yet, so who knows how good or bad it is. I still don't have room for a very big pan here, but I do have room probably here for plenty of pans for this while still putting these in here with velcro. But the next question is, if I'm drying them out anyway, do I really need the fresh tubes? I don't know. Sometimes it's really nice to use gouache fresh from the tube. Well, at this point, it's all up to what size of little pans I can find to add into this extra space. Do I leave the brushes out? I think I do. I think I can leave these brushes in a case like this, although these are watercolor brushes, not gouache brushes. I would probably want to bring my Sarah Burns gouache brushes with me, which means I would need to find a case for these or just make a piece of cardboard where I can put these on and rubber band them so the ends are protected. I love these brushes. They're pretty much everything I would need for gouache, so I would probably want to take them. I just don't have an extra small pencil case, although I did get one from Jazza, but I don't know if it's tall enough because it was for pencils, but I will find out. This here is the case from one of Jazz's art boxes that I was talking about, and you can clearly see it's not long enough for what I need. So that won't work, but we will come up with another solution to protect the ends of these brushes. I looked all around my house, and the only pans or things I could use for pans that I could find easily are these. So this is a sample pan that came from Arts to Embers on Etsy. It is a 3D printed pan, and it's meant to go in the Kuretake Gansai Tambi palettes that he makes. But I have no other paint to put in it, and they're nice and big pans, so they will go in here. And then all I had left to put in for the rest were just regular watercolor full pans. A little smaller than I was hoping for, but I think it'll work okay. It's better than half pans, that's for sure. I'm not going to pour paint in there to let it dry. I will just use it as I need it. I have enough for even the white to go into one of these. So I will attach these with tape, and then we'll play with them and see how this arrangement works. I think it should be fun. Although I am kind of tempted to pour a little paint into each of these because I do want to test how it dries out before my trip. If that makes sense. It does make sense. But even this white I am kind of curious about. So maybe I will put at least a little bit of paint into each one of these so we can see what it looks like and go from there. All right, this is awesome. What I have done is I've attached these with score tape. It's double-sided sticky tape. Okay, so all of these big pans from the Caran original set and these full pans in this pan from the Kuretake set, I have attached double-sided sticky tape. You can see. Shaking it upside down, nothing's falling out. So these, because I may want to pull them out and use them fresh from the tube, are attached with 3M Velcro. So you can pull them out and stick them back in, and they'll stay put. Click back in. The brushes, same, because I want to protect the ends of the brushes, and I do not have another brush case to put these in. I have a super, super long one for like oil painting brushes, but I don't want to use that. It's too long. So again, 3M Velcro. So I can pull these off at any time, and they don't last forever. I don't know if you can see that's kind of already pulling away. So if you have these 3M command strips, you need to use them up right away, and then you'll probably end up replacing them. They're all stuck there, which means I can shake this around. They're not gonna go anywhere. Brush tips are all protected, and it shuts, okay? If it gets bonked, like I just bonked it, it will pop open because those brushes, a couple of them, like these three, are quite large. So as long as it doesn't get bonked, it stays shut, which I'll just put a band around it. I have rubber bands upstairs in the kitchen. I'll grab a couple of heavy duty ones and I'll put one on each end. But regardless, that's perfect. Little swatch sheet that I have made because some of these colors are not totally intuitive. You know, the dark ones here are just hard to tell what they are. So I'll go ahead and swatch this and stick this in here. It'll be ready to bring and paint. I'm so excited. And now I'm swatching. This one is the yellow. It's the number 10. And I'll be guessing on some of these because they didn't quite match what they came. That one there was the lemon yellow, number 240. This is Carmine Lake, number 80. Followed by, I think this next one is, and I'm guessing, emerald green. It's either emerald green or the malachite green. And this one is definitely the ultramarine. That's going to be number 140. This one here is violet. I know that one for sure. That's number 120. And after violet, we have ochre. They call this one just ochre, number 35. Nice and opaque, that one. This is their black, number 9. And this is Daniel Smith's Cascade Green. It's a PBR7 and a PB15. And we're going back to this one, which is, what is this? Vermilion. This one is the bright magenta, number 90. Here we are guessing again. This is either the malachite green or the emerald green. So I'm just guessing between those two. This is the cyan. I'm pretty sure this is what they're calling cyan. Next we have the white. This is the Caran white, number 1. This is the Daniel Smith red, and it's a Pyrrole red, a PR254. This is Caran yellow green. What number is that? I'm not sure. Let me look here. I can't find it. Number 230. Okay, this one is the brown, number 59. This is Daniel Smith's Ultramarine, a PB29. And then we're going to Daniel Smith's Hansa Yellow Medium, which is a PY74. All dry. And we do have some streaks. You probably noticed that when I was swatching it. These 3 in particular. This is B 100% cotton paper, but it did streak on this, but this isn't awesome paper either. This is the Hanamule 100% cotton. So we have some streaking in these 7 colors basically. So I guess pretty similar on this paper. But look at this Cascade Green. That's really interesting how that dried. That olive green yellow color really popped through to the surface of the paper. Kind of fascinating. These two look amazingly opaque and beautiful. The ultramarine blue just looks so-so on that one, but it'll be fun to paint with these and see if they're still streaky. I don't know what kind of paper I'm going to use when I paint on it, but I'll find out in a second here. Time to try this palette out. All of its changes. It's kind of fun. I love it. This is a coloring book by Sakuems. She used to be pretty active on YouTube. Not so much anymore, but she does do a few posts. But anyway, she makes these coloring books, and you can either get them in cardstock paper or watercolor paper. And I have the one that's watercolor paper. Problem is they're all ladies, beautiful ladies, but that does make it a little hard for me to paint with this paint. I just really wanted to, I don't know, I wanted to use a coloring book. That one might not be too hard as far as little spaces. Boy, it would be awesome if there were a just bigger one, bigger open space one. That one's kind of intriguing. We could do that. Just look through these others real quick with you and get an idea. She does still sell these on her shop, and they get shipped from France, and they're very reasonably priced in my opinion. Or at least I should say she used to sell these still. And I think she's released a new one I don't have yet, but I don't need it and I'm not going to buy it. But so it's been probably a week. I think it has been a whole week. Holy moly. Anyway, these are fully dry, very hard. So we'll see how the Daniel Smith ones re-wet and just use it all. I'm not going to use these straight from the tube at the moment, but just get to painting. Like, shut up already and paint, right? Just want to tell you real quick, I intend to pull these brushes out of the palette and just set them aside so that I have my mixing space available. I'll just have the brushes in there for when I'm closing the palette, moving from one location to the next, that kind of thing. All right, I was thinking of making her a redhead, which means I'd like to mix these 2 colors together, or these 2 colors together, or maybe these 3 colors together. Whatever, I'll explain it on time lapse for you, I guess. All right. So yeah, let's try this bright red. Oh, that re-wet really nicely. Okay, cool. Hate cleaning my brush off. Wasting paint, feels like. There's some of the orange, more of the red, and some brown. I won't clean my brush, I just dipped it in water though. What do I think about that color? I think it needs more red and more orange. Okay, that's very coppery. I'd like to preface this entire time lapse with saying the amount of opacity you're going to get from a dried gouache palette will depend largely on how much you pre-wet it before you start using it. Because if you spray this beforehand and let the water sit on these pans, it will give it a better chance to get more of the pigment up, and you'll get a more opaque look to it. Now, I am using these dry just because I wanted to. I wanted to see how that would be. I did not pre-wet them ahead of time, and that is why you're seeing more transparency. And that's fine. That's what I was going for. It was an experiment. So do pre-wet them if you really want that thick gouache feel, because these will do that for you. I noticed when I let water sit on these in a couple of other experiments that they definitely get thick. I just like to try my art supplies in many different ways. So I also never tried pulling the Daniel Smith paints directly from the tubes and using them. I am just using them from the dried pans. So that is something I still need to do in the future and see what I think. I have used the Daniel Smith gouache in one of my classes at the college, and we actually didn't like it that well. I think I explained that maybe in the beginning of the video. I'm not sure. I can't remember if I told you that or not, but it was very hard to layer the Daniel Smith gouache, and we actually found the Arteza gouache better to use. So I'm using these dried in the pans. So your experience with them could be completely different than mine. I thought they were great still. I enjoyed them a lot using them with this application. Also, I'm starting to wonder if maybe coloring books aren't my thing, but yet at the same time, when I know I have a coloring book to fall back on when I don't know what else to do, it is a feeling of comfort. But I don't know. Sometimes I get frustrated by the lines, having to stay in the lines. And I didn't enjoy this particular painting that you're seeing right now on screen as much as I thought I would. But yet at the same time, I did another one after this, which I'll show you at the end of the video, that I enjoyed immensely. It did take me 3 hours to do, which I'll talk about when I show it to you. So I think maybe that's another thing, by staying in the lines and not kind of being free to do the more loose landscapes and things like that I often do. It's pretty time consuming, but it's really fun to try and mix and get the colors that I'm looking for. You can see I totally messed up on her neck, but I'll fix that later. I don't know. I really enjoyed this gouache a lot. I enjoyed working with this. These brushes from Sarah Burns and Craftimo are very nice. So all of that is a great experience in my opinion. It's just maybe some coloring pages are for me and some are not. I'll just put it and leave it at that. I think you can see though that when I made that lighter color in her hair, it really shows up. It shows up great. So using that white to mix in works really well. And then I did her lips so beautifully and I didn't even realize it, but I smeared her lips somehow later. It's probably on this video. I don't even know. But I have to go and fix that, but because the cats messed up this paper by spilling stuff on it, that's probably when I messed up her lips with my hand right there. Anyway, the sizing kind of got messed up when the cats messed things up, but it's okay. It's just a coloring book. I still want them to look pretty though. That Daniel Smith Cascade Green gouache is pretty darn amazing. I am really impressed with the gouache in the palette as a whole, all of it. And I don't know. I still haven't decided if I feel like I'm painting with paint I would use as a kid, or if this is like grown-up paint that I can enjoy right now. I'm enjoying it right now. I just don't know that it's... Okay, let's just say it's not my first love. Watercolor is still my first love, and we'll just go with that. Because this is fun. This is great. I'm going to bring it with me to Canada and hopefully paint with it. Not in a coloring book. I want to paint my own thing and see what happens, and we'll go from there. I will keep you updated, so stay tuned for that. My conclusions are, this palette is really fun. I never poured fresh paint back out from the tubes into here, but it will work. I did have the Cascade Green and I think this blue kind of fall out, so I just put water on the bottom of them and I stuck them back in. These seem really well stuck still. I think they're going to be okay. So keep an eye on your Daniel Smith dried gouache. Just make sure if it's in a palette like this that it won't fall out very easily, or you have it, a lid contained. This white worked great, but I only used it for mixing lighter colors. I did not use it for actual bright white highlights, but I loved it. So I think I'll go ahead and use it up, and then I'll switch to the Daniel Smith white gouache. We'll see what that's like. I really just like this container. It's a good size, even for traveling, even though it's big. I mean, I travel in my camp trailer. I have plenty of room for it. If you're traveling in your car, I don't know, it may be big, but I like the size. Having these brushes in here, I realized I probably didn't even need to attach these to this Velcro. I could have just set them in here. The problem with that is if this got tilted, these ends might end up jamming against the edge, and I wanted to protect my bristles. So I do still like the fact that they have Velcro and it'll keep them from sliding into the ends of the bristles. I wasn't really I wasn't having a great time painting this one for some reason, and I'm not sure why. I think maybe because I messed up the skin color at first and then I was discouraged, but I was able to fix it really easily with the white and remixing a color. And then my cats, even though I have lids on my water jars, they spilled the water and it soaked up into this page. You can see that. And so I've had sizing issues up here. Like this will not blend out. No matter how much I scrub that, it won't blend out. So I think them spilling the water and having it just sit on this for that half a day or 3/4 of a day while I was gone just kind of messed the paper up. So dang cats. Anyway, it's okay though. It's fine. It just looks a little stylized. And then when I was in class last night, I went ahead and brought all of this with me, and I also painted this with the Caran and Daniel Smith gouache palette, this palette. And I love this. I don't know if it was the different picture or the fact that I just had an inspired idea, you know, with the hair or what, but I loved it. And this was really fun to work with. And I used this really long rigger brush here to do all of these hair strokes in the black and the hot pink. And it was fun. But this one coloring page took me all 3 hours of class. So it was intense, but the background was fairly fast. But when you're going over every single hair stroke with a rigger, you can imagine that takes some time. But I was really pleased with the colors. I actually didn't use any of the Daniel Smith gouache in this painting at all. It was all the Caran and I loved it. So I'll be taking it with me to Canada and I'll be gone for a month. We'll see if I use it at all. I don't know exactly what all I am bringing with me besides that cute little travel palette here that I put together on my channel, which I'll link for you. You can see the paint has dried down quite a bit since I first poured it, but I think I'll leave it as is for now. And then I have to decide what else I'm taking with me. But that's a fun decision I get to make. So anyway, I hope this was helpful if you are trying to look at this palette and decide if you want it. You can see how my paintings turned out. Granted, these are coloring book paintings, not original paintings, but I still had fun with them and I enjoyed this palette. It's going to be interesting to see how these compare being a dried out palette to when I get into my Winsor & Newton Designers gouache and my Turner gouache using them wet, because I don't plan on drying those out. You can see I dropped some water on my swatch sheet. That's always a bummer because I haven't laminated this yet. I really need to, but I probably won't get to that in time because I'm forgetful sometimes. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me. This is a cool palette. It's even cooler now that I have customized it. Makes me even happier with it. And I will see you in the next video. Bye for now. So I think I'll go ahead and use it up and then I'll smidge. What do you think, Bailey? You like it? Are you having fun? It's so fun. She's so happy. You're so happy. Bailey. Oh, that's so pretty out there. Oh my God.